everybody. Alright, so welcome to another DID video. Specifically, a system video. I haven't talked about an area of my system in a little bit. I think the last one I did was the Dark Realm, which, you know, was a very interesting kind of retrospective thing to look at with a pretty obscure part of the Cerebreath system. So today, I figured I'd talk about one of the main areas, or the main cities, in my system. I think I've explained this before, but my system is a large country with various different landscapes and areas, and of course various different dangers and creatures that live there. Starlight Plaza is one of the most unique, and it's actually where my twin Vivian lives. Vivian is another that is basically my twin, but not physical. She's up here, and she's my sister. So it's really kind of weird and complicated, and I've tried to explain this before, and it's odd. But anyway, she's not the only one who lives there. There's a bunch of other. I think there's some others that come visit and stay there occasionally, and there's some that live nearby. So, and obviously, I don't know what kind of people they are, but there are people there. They just aren't interactive with me. So, let's get into the basic, way it looks. Let's say this is the road right here. On this side is a path leading into Amethyst Forest, where Anna, Pan, Debbie, and Joy live. You go across this way, and there's a large stone wall with a gate. Now, from the outside, it looks like, you can kind of see the city, but it's a little foggy looking for some reason. And if you walk through the gate and you look up, you'll see the night sky spread across, because it's always nighttime there. If you look forward through when you walk through that gate, there's a small park. It's nothing massive or anything. It's just a small area with a bunch of flowers and, benches and a fountain. Not much of a park. It's just a place that's kind of welcoming when you walk in. And of course, there are streets and sidewalks and businesses. The funny thing is, there's actually businesses that resemble things we have here. Instead of McDonald's, there is McMeteorites. Everything is space themed. I think it's so fancy and so funny. And apparently the food is really good, according to what I'm told, and I wish I could taste it. It smells apparently it smells good, it tastes good, it sounds amazing. But there's various different places you can go shopping, places you can get food. One of the things that I questioned about it was, well, how do they survive when it's only nighttime? And basically, the moon kind of functions like the sun in a weird way. It's really complicated. The moon's always shining. But things that grow there mainly grow in moonlight. Like moon bloom flowers. They're like these beautiful blue flowers that look like snapdragons. And they glow in sort of a very dim color and make a slight humming sound. They're not it's not like the Nirnroot from Skyward where it's in your face and you hate the sound. It's very it's very pleasant sounding. It sounds I think someone said it sounds like a choir when there's a whole bunch of them. And it's kind of neat because each one's a different pitch. And the local park in Starlight Plaza actually has a bunch of them. So you can kind of go there, look out onto the lake, which is reflecting off of the moon. As the moon reflecting off it, you can sit on a bench, listen to the flowers, listen to the wind in the trees, and it's just very, very pleasant. Of course, there is I believe it's called, I thought it was called Stargazer Apartments. I could be wrong, but that's where Viv lives. She has a few friends who live there. It's really strange. But I believe that I like to call the people in this world shadows. They generally are not others, but they live, but they don't talk to me. They talk to the others, they don't talk to me at all. It's really, really weird to me that that's a thing, but it apparently is. If you go up the street, you'll see that the apartment's right there. You're gonna have to cross a few sidewalks and stuff to get there, but don't let yourself get distracted by all the pretty lights because they're everywhere. But if you go this way from the apartments and you keep going that way, you'll find a zoo, you'll find a museum, an aquarium that has ancient fish and giant sharks and stuff in it. It's really neat. You go the opposite way, there's an old, what looks like a Japanese fairground, basically, but it's actually a market stall. There's a whole bunch of markets where you can buy food and all kinds of things like that. And of course, there's normal stores and stuff, too, you can go to. One of the strangest parts about Starlight Plaza is that it has streets, but there's no cars. I don't know why. I've questioned it. No one really seems to understand why that's there. It might just be because it looks nice. The thing with Starlight Plaza is that it's also a new expansion. There's a place out, say Starlight Plaza's right here, like the square Starlight Plaza. Up here is old Starlight Plaza, or old S Plaza, where essentially it's the older version of what it was. I'm not sure if that was something that I did. I don't know if it was something that was built, because there was now more people. I don't know. I don't know how any of this works. But basically, there's an old folks' home and stuff like that. It's very simple in Old S Plaza. There's not a whole lot, but it is very nice looking. And Old S Plaza still is wrapped in starlight, in sun, in the moon, and the sun doesn't come up, ever. So naturally, this is a perfect place for people and others that don't like sunlight to live. That doesn't mean that they don't like the sun permanent. Some of them don't like the sun, some of them leave to get sunlight. It's a really weird kind of area. That being said, I think it's one of the safest and most pleasant to deal with, due to the fact that it's just very nice, and people there are friendly, and you can have fun doing various different things, like going to the movies. And, it's not like other places I'm going to talk about later, where there's a lot more to it. It's generally a big city life. I like to compare it to Aurora, Colorado, where it's like a big kind of town, where it's got buildings and everything, but it's also very simple. Actually, I think it's more accurate to compare it to Denver. There's lights everywhere, and you feel like you're in the city, but you know where everything is. You kind of don't feel lost. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to think, is there anything else that is really important to Starlight Plaza? Because, oh, right. Jazz's coffee shop. Jazz does live in Starlight Plaza. She actually lives in a housing district that is that direction from, it's right next to the park. So basically, if you go upwards towards the apartment, go this way, down to the market stalls and past them, and you go up the sidewalk a bit, you'll find a coffee shop. The park's coffee shop's right here, park's here, housing district's right there. And these are nice houses. These are those really fancy houses that all the rich kids lived in high school, where there was parties and stuff at. Those are the kind of houses that Jazz lives in. And she's a very social person, so it's very good for her. But she works at a coffee shop that I can't remember the name of. Oh, Shooting Starbucks. I swear I came up with that myself, because it's just such a weird name, but I could be wrong. It could be something that was just there. But, Shooting Starbucks is basically just a coffee shop. That's all there is to it. Even if I did come up with it, even if I didn't, that's funny to me. I love that name. And, Jazz has made Employee of the Month several times at her job. And that brings me to an interesting topic that I want to discuss really quickly, is that my others have lives outside of me. And that's sometimes why I don't hear from them. They generally work their own jobs, they live in their own places, and sometimes they generally don't talk much. And when they do, it's when they're really, really needed. I'm trying to is that it? Well, I kind of want to talk more about the aquarium a little bit, because that's one of my favorite parts. The aquarium, I don't remember the name of it at all. I don't know if it even had a name or if it's just called the aquarium. But it's very large. And there's all kinds of like extinct creatures living there that are still alive in the system. If you know ancient like creatures a little bit, you probably know about the Dunkleosteus, which is a very large, bony fish which had like scales that look like teeth. You can find one of those there. You can find like things that would probably terrify you quite a bit. But generally they're very docile, they're well fed, they don't really bug anybody. And I think it's kind of neat that none of them ever break the glass. That being said, there's also like normal animals. And some unique things that are only, you know, alive within the system. There are mermaids who live in the aquarium because they don't want to live in Mermaid Beach, which is another area. You know, it's stuff like that that makes me love my system, but also I'm terrified of it because I was like, if something were to happen to me and I suddenly retracted back in my system, I don't know if that's possible, but if I somehow went in there, could something happen to me here? And it starts to spiral a little bit. It shows how little I really know about my system, but how much I do know is the areas that I've been discussed with and what I've told about, and they discuss things with me and tell me like areas that they live in. I guess I could talk a little bit more about the restaurants. I know it's not a big important thing, but I find it very interesting. Obviously we talked about meteorites and shooting Starbucks. I think there's a pizza place, but I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. Galaxy Pizza or something like that, where it's basically it reminds me a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm not gonna lie to you. A little bit of Chuck E. Cheese's. But the whole thing is space pirate themed. And it's really, really neat, and apparently the pizza's really good. I think Vivian at one point told me that the animatronics were really janky, but she loves them anyway. I can't remember the names of the characters. I hate that, because they were so funny and they were so silly sounding that I almost thought I made them up. But apparently they've been there for a while. I don't know. But honestly, like, there's so much. As simple as it is, there's a lot to Starlight Plaza. And it's a place I kind of wish I was able to live in. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I were to... I feel like if I were to kind of live in my own brain, that's probably where I'd be. Either that... Well, I don't know if I'd want to be in Love Lane City. Love Lane is where Lulu lives, and it's not a bad town, but it's got a lot of problems. Kind of like me. I wouldn't want to live in the vampire village where Pride lives, because it's very small and generally doesn't have a lot to do. That's kind of where he gets out a lot. Roguesport is... No, it's not Roguesport. Rogues Gallery. Why do I want to call it Roguesport? I played too much Paper Mario. Rogues Gallery is a pirate town. Don't really want to live there. I don't know, there's very few places I think I'd want to stay in comparison to Starlight Plaza, and I'm going to talk about all these eventually. Main thing that I want to kind of share with you guys about this is it's a peaceful place. Yes, there's a few problems here and there, I'm going to admit. I think I might have thought of this myself, but like for like a story or something, because I was making a story out of these thoughts that I had before I realized I had DID, and I'm pretty sure certain aspects I created myself, like the outbreak of something called like lunar dust or something like that, which is like, it's like a hardcore drug, and I've never done drugs in my life, so I don't know if I made that up, I don't know if it's a thing or not, but basically it makes you go crazy. And oh yeah, Momo lives in this town as well, in Starlight as well. But I think I made that part. I think I made the part about the lunar dust up, because it was just such a weird, asinine idea that it seems like it came from me. So, but at this point, it's very hard for me to tell. because a lot of it is a lot of like things that I feel like I would create, but at the same time they've already kind of been there for a while. Oh god, I'm confusing myself. Anyway, long story short, it's a beautiful place. A few of my others live there. And that's all I really have to say about it. It's cool. Not even gonna lie to you. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I greatly appreciate you stopping by. I always do. If you like what I do here, leave me a comment, subscribe, ring the bell, that good kind of stuff really helps me out a lot. You're beautiful, you're valuable, you're important. That's very, very, very important to me and everybody up here. And I will see you in the next video I make, whenever that is. So until then, goodbye.